My guest today is, without a single bit of doubt, the best female kite foiling boarder in the world. She's won the last 4 female kite foil world championships in a row, and because of those results, has been awarded US Female Sailor of the Year twice. With kite foiling entering the Olympics for Paris 2024, she's almost an unbackable favourite for gold. Welcome, Daniela Moroz. Thank you very much for coming on and being a part of Ronstan's Shooting the Breeze. It's, awesome. I've been really excited to chat to you because I haven't actually met you before. So you're so far the most exciting one to have on board.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, have a good chat.
Yeah, so look, I'm going to go into a pretty technical one with my first question. You've won the US Female Sailor of the Year award twice now, and with that comes a Rolex watch, correct?
Yep.
All right. Yep. Perfect. Now, how does a Rolex watch compare to the Ronstan Clear Start watches for kite foiling? Like, have you taken the Rolex out there as the start watch?
Oh no, I'm too scared to do that. I do know some people that carry with their Rolexes, but I can tell you that they're both very accurate.
Really good. It must be a thrill because that is one of the coolest prizes to get an award for, a Rolex watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really cool that, like, I don't know, sailing is one of those sports where kind of the caliber of your achievements is almost kind of judged by how many Rolexes you have. And I think that's just a really kind of interesting thing about our sport. And I had a friend that when I first got it, what happens is when you don't wear it after a while, the minute hand and the second hand, it just stops just to conserve battery, I guess. And this one time I had put it on in the morning and I was, off in my day, and I noticed that it wasn't even telling the time right. And I told the story to one of my friends, and he was like, "Oh, well, you don't wear a Rolex to tell time." And I thought it was just so funny because in the sailing world, that's kind of a thing that we have, and it's just really neat to us.
So you do wear them? You don't put them in the box and just put them on the shelf there and just keep them away?
I mean, I used to wear it every now and then. I would wear it sometimes if I had a presentation at school or something and I wanted to look a little, jazzed up for that.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, but now it's in the safe deposit box and away safely.
You should do the double wrister. That'd be sick.
Someone told me to do that once, and I was gonna do it for our so my friends from university and we basically had a bet, and it was that if I won it again this year, then I would have to wear both of them at our university athletics awards dinner that is usually at the end of the year. But because of the COVID thing, it didn't happen, unfortunately, but might have happened.
Well, when you step on the dice to get that Olympic gold, you'll have a row of them up your arm by that stage, I would have thought.
Maybe we'll see.
Very good. So let's talk about gear, because a lot of people won't understand kite foiling. So as it's a relatively newish sport and pretty aggressive, a lot of people won't understand that you actually run with a fair few sizes of kites. So can you explain what your kites are using and what sizes and how it works?
Yeah, definitely. So basically at any sort of registered world sailing event, like world championships, Europeans, title events, the riders are allowed to register 4 kite sizes. And the sizes range basically from 7 square meters all the way to 23 square meters. And of course you use the smaller kite sizes for heavier wind and the bigger kite sizes for lighter wind. And usually most people do a 9-meter kite as their smallest kite, and either 18 or 21 or 23, depending on how big the rider is. And obviously weight kind of plays into that. And a lot of, for example, the girls that are a little bit smaller might just use an 18 because that's all we really need in 6 knots. But basically we have 4 sizes that we register at events. But when we're practicing or at any of the open events, you basically can have as many kites as you want. It can get quite busy in the storage area, which I have right next to me over here. Quite the south of so many kites over the years. But yeah, basically you want to stick to those four, and those four also have a really good and wide range that you can actually use them in. So for example, let's say the 11 meter, I would like to be able to use it in anywhere from like 15 knots to about 23 knots. So it gives you a really nice wide range.
And does the line sizes have changed over the years? Like they used to be upwards of like 24 meter length lines, and now they're down at like 15. Has that?
Yeah.
That's changed.
Definitely.
So that's changed the allowing you to have a bigger kite in bigger breeze. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of. So the kites, because they used to be just inflatable kites where you would actually like pump air into them and they had the stiff strut on the leading edge. Those kites we were using pretty long lines for, but since we transitioned to foil kites, the line lengths have actually gotten a lot shorter, and a lot of riders for their smallest kites are using like 10-meter lines. And this is mostly so that you get a very direct and immediate feedback from the kite. So anytime you feel a gust or shift, whatever it may be, you feel it on the bar immediately. Maybe not immediately, but almost immediately. And you can pretty much adapt to that. And it just helps you be able to go at the best speed and just maintain your angle and so on and so forth.
So, and kite foiling is still on quite the steep development curve. Are you, with the brands that you associate yourself with, are you noticing the development changes when they give you a new kite each year?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that over the past like 5 years or so that we've been using foil kites, 5 years is a really short time when you think about it in sailing terms, but we've seen a really big development, and the gear has just gotten so much safer and more predictable and just better in almost every sense and more efficient. And I think now we've kind of hit a bit of a plateau since the brands have had to kind of lock in a certain kind of design for the Olympics. So now we are actually just kind of over the course of this year, everything's been a little bit kind of delayed because of COVID, but we've been getting basically the list of what kites we're allowed to ride for the Olympics. So for example, we have like 3 or 4 main brands that each registered designs that the rider can choose to use in the Olympics and over the next 4 years. And those, the surface area of the kite has to stay the same, and the canopy, like the design of the canopy, has to stay the same. But the bridle placement and length and material can all kind of change. But up until like this year, maybe the end of last year, the kites were still just changing almost every event because we were allowed to race like prototypes at open events and things like that.
All right. So are they, for the Olympics, are they going to lock in one brand, or are they going to allow a few brands to be able to enter?
No, so it's not quite one design. It's basically like all these different brands have to kind of complete this registration process with World Sailing. And once they complete this process and they make sure that they can like sustain a certain design basically of their kite, and they're allowed to kind of sell their kite as like an Olympic registered kite. And then the riders can choose which kite they want to use basically out of those like 10 kites that are registered.
With Ronstan, we deal with a lot of kite companies, and I'm seeing a lot of people starting to go towards the custom bars, the full carbon bar, and trying to get as light as possible, and using robline rope, which I know you're associated with as well. Have you got a custom bar, or you just go with the stock standard, what the kite company gives you?
I go with a carbon bar from my good friend Stan from SK Shapes. And he probably makes like the best carbon bar on the market, a little bit of promotion there, but I love his product. And he also uses a lot of Ronstan, like the pulleys and all of that. And I think, yeah, it's just amazing. And I think that the coolest thing about the carbon bars is that again, you just get like an immediate feel for what the kite is doing. And I've always been a big person that kind of relies on feel, and I really kind of trust what I feel in a kite. So rather than just like looking at numbers, because I think a lot of times numbers, there can be like discrepancies and things like that. So really being able to feel the kite and feel exactly what it's doing, I think that is really important for racing. And a carbon bar definitely allows you to be able to do that better. And of course, there's the added bonus of having a much lighter bar in the board bag when you're traveling on a plane.
And then the board and the foil, like, are you allowed to have more than one or two enter an event? Is there a different foil for lighter breeze or windier breeze? Is it just one? How does it work there?
Yeah, so we're allowed to register just one foil per event. And there's a few different, like, brands are now kind of making different size foils that are mostly meant to accommodate different rider weights. And so, for example, a lot of the brands have like a smaller size that's meant more for like lighter riders, and a bigger foil that has a bigger surface area and so more lift for some of the bigger riders. But other than that, yeah, we just have to register one foil per event, and that's what kind of you're stuck with for that week.
Fair enough. So, I mean, my next question is, how did you get into kite foiling? Because it's not a sport you just turn up and have a go at. Like, it is hectic. I mean, take it from personal experience. I could go pretty well in a straight line, but turning and coming back, I just crash and go, I give up, and then swing the board around and go back the other way. Like, it is hard.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I got into it because both of my parents were actually longtime windsurfers. And so I just grew up basically on the beach, in the water, just going to every windsurfing venue just with them, because they a lot of times competed in like US nationals, and they did a lot of traveling over North America. So I was just always going with them. So I grew up around windsurfing. And then my dad started kiting in about 2005, I think. And then once I was kind of old enough to learn to either kite or windsurf, I chose kiting. And I think that was about in like 2012 or so, when I was 11. And I was just like so stoked on it. And I loved being able to just be out on the water and feeling the wind and just be out in nature. And I've also, just coming from like so many other sports, I was also doing like swimming and tennis and just all these other sports. I was always very competitive, and I always wanted to beat the boys. So I kind of, just coming from that, I was like, I kind of got the opportunity to try out racing, because we have this huge fleet in San Francisco of all these racers that compete every other Thursday over the summer. At the St. Francis Yacht Club, and I got the opportunity to basically just try racing and see how it would go, and I totally loved that, and I loved going fast. And eventually I was like, okay, I think I want to like really pursue this and like see what happens here, and I was just having so much fun with it. And so kind of one thing led to another. The fleet was kind of transitioning to foils after being on like race boards for so long. And I kind of followed that trend. And then, yeah, soon enough, like there was one summer where I basically kited every single day and like learned how to tag, learned how to dive, like put my stuff together. And then I was like, okay, like let's go to an international event. And so, yeah, my parents were really supportive throughout the whole process. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am now without them, and without them having gotten me into it. So yeah, I'm really, really lucky to have been kind of put in a situation that I was put in, and like have the amazing opportunity to, you know, live with the bay in my backyard basically, and look up to people like Johnny Heineken and Erica Heineken and all these like racing legends, and be able to race with them. So yeah, I definitely got pretty lucky with kind of where I grew up and who I grew up with.
Yeah, well, as you said, you raced out of the St. Francis Yacht Club there in the San Francisco Bay, but you all launched from a pretty amazing spot called Chrissy Field. So it's just down the road, and if people don't know where Chrissy Field is, it's basically right next to the Golden Gate Bridge. So, and it is a seriously hectic bay. Like, it's some serious tidal flow, and the winds are strong, and there's a fog rolling in, and animal life. Like, I went kiting there once, and I had dolphins and a turtle pop up and all sorts of stuff, and it's a great white shark breeding ground just outside the heads, and
yeah,
like, it is an amazing spot to go kiting from.
Yeah, it's so unique, and I love it. It's probably one of my favorite places to kite. And yeah, like you said, there's all this stuff going on. It's a really strong current going in and out of the bay all the time, and there's always like this massive bubble right off the beach. So you think like, oh, like I'll take an 11, like it's kind of light, and then you like get in actually into the wind line, and you're like, oh my god, like it's gusting to 35, like to be hectic. But it's so fun, and there's all this like shipping traffic, and yeah, the famous fog that rolls over the Golden Gate Bridge. It's not an easy place to sail, but I think it's a big reason why I've actually gotten good at racing, because I was kind of forced to practice in this like really tough spot. And I've heard like so many sailors say this, but if you can sail in the bay, you can sail anywhere. And I definitely think that really helped me in like learning to race and learning to kite and everything that comes along with it. And there's always like, there are all those hectic sessions, but there's also like those really nice and peaceful ones where it'll be like the beginning of the springtime, like the season is just kind of starting, and it looks really sketchy, but it's like just barely doable. And we'll get these like amazing sunsets, and the Golden Gate Bridge just like is this bright red, and you're kiting underneath it, and it's just, yeah, it's a really unique spot.
Yeah, it's the best spot that I've ever gone out on, just taking that kite underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. And I know the kite's not that high, but when you're going under, you're like, oh God, I've got to get it low, I'm going to get the bridge. But yeah, because your depth perception's not quite there, but it is just breathtaking doing that. So when I first went out there, I got told by a few people. I was down at not Chrissy Fields. Where's the Sherman Island, and we were telling the guys that we're going out and kiting Chrissy Field under the Golden Gate Bridge tomorrow. It's going to be sick. And they're just like, oh, just be careful. It's pretty hectic over there. They said about 15 kiters get rescued a month. Have you got any rescue stories from there? Because with the tide, you get taken out.
Yeah, so knock on wood, I've actually never been rescued by the Coast Guard, but I think like almost everyone has at some point in their life. I've definitely had a couple swims, and there was one that I remember really specifically. I went out kiting, and it was kind of light, but it was okay. And then the wind basically just shut off, and I dropped my kite, and there's like a massive hole, and it's like completely died. And I like look upwind, and I'm basically right in line with the South Tower of Golden Gate Bridge, which is like, it's pretty far out. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going for a little swim. So I ended up swimming about a mile in. And honestly, it was like, if you were going to swim in, this was the best day to do it, because it wasn't too cold. It was still like, I think it was the middle of the season, just a weird day, but it wasn't too cold. It was slack tide, so I wasn't getting like pulled anywhere. And it was funny because I had a swim meet that morning, and I was a long distance swimmer in high school, and I had already swam the mile in the pool that morning. And then this time I was swimming a mile with my kite in the bay with all the sharks and the seals. And yeah, it was quite an adventure, but that's the only like proper swim I've had in the bay. Luckily, knock on wood.
That's right. I reckon knock on wood, because everyone tells me they've had some hectic stories from there. So,
people get picked up all the time.
And then you got to watch out for the jumpers too, I hear, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, you said before you like competing and pushing with the boys, and you've got some serious good kiteboarders that kite out of there, like Johnny Heineken and Nico Palier's there every now and again, the current male world champ. These guys obviously really help push you, and clearly have taken you to that next level, well ahead of the next girl.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like racing in San Francisco, it was basically me and like Erica Heineken for the most part. And then Erica like started to have different priorities. She had a full-time job. She was having a kid. So she kind of just stopped racing basically. And so then it was just me and like all the boys. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And it was just kind of fun for me. And I think that it made me kind of set expectations for myself that like I expected myself basically to race as well as the guys. And I kind of held myself to a guy's potential. And I never thought of myself like, oh, like, it's fine. I'm getting whatever this place, but it's okay. I'm a girl. Like, I never thought that. I was always like, no, I need to beat the next guy and I can totally be up there with the rest of them. There's no reason I can't. And I think that just always kind of having that motivation in the back of my mind and having that mindset really kind of kept motivating me to keep training with them, even if they would leave me behind sometimes, and just kind of keep pushing it and just seeing what I could do. And yeah, I think that it's definitely, kiting is a developing sport, obviously. So yeah, there are all these, like, the other girls from the other countries are still kind of getting into it, but I really think that kiting is one of the sports that females can compete as well as the guys. And the only thing that could be holding us back is like weight, maybe potentially, but it definitely, weight isn't as big of a factor as it is in a lot of boats. And I think that's such a unique thing about kiting. And I think that really just opens up the door to female athletes from other sports as well.
It's the last World Cup event that you had on San Francisco Bay, and I was watching the results. You're right up there in that top, podium, top 5 position, really giving it to the boys. It's fantastic to watch.
Yeah. I remember the last 2 San Francisco events were kind of crazy for me because I think the first year I had like final exams at the same time in like the same week as this event. So like I had a great first 2 days. I was like in the top 10, and then I just completely like collapsed from being tired and dealing with school and things like that. And then I think last year, like, I got injured in the middle of it. So I just kind of, I had to stop racing after the second day or something. But I always had like a good first day. And it's those kind of days that show me that, like, I can be right up there with the rest of the guys. And it just, takes a little bit more consistency and a little more practice. And there's nothing stopping me.
So have you done any other sailing other than the kiteboarding? Because how do you get your tactics and your nous around the course?
Yeah, so I didn't sail before kiting, but now when I started university last fall, I was on the sailing team. So I was sailing FJs, which are, I think it's only in America, but it's basically like it's a 2-person dinghy, and it's slow, and it really forced me to like think about tactics. And so that was really nice, and I wanted to do college sailing because of that. But other than that, I think a lot of people think that, or let me rephrase this. I think that like tactics for kiting are very different from a lot of boats, just because everything is happening so much faster. So although I didn't come from a sailing background, like, yes, I do think that is a bit of a weakness, and that's something I consistently work on. I also think that a lot of people coming from traditional sailing also have a lot to learn, just because everything is happening so much faster. There's a lot of different rules because our sail is like 10 to 15 meters away. So there's still just a lot to learn and a lot to kind of play with in a sense. So yes, although, I definitely have still a lot to learn about the rules and all of that. I think that everyone does, because kiting is just still so new.
Yeah, right. So have you sailed against other boats with your kites? Because you compete in the Ronstan Bridge to Bridge, which is a race that Ronstan put on every year from the Golden Gate Bridge to the Bay Bridge. And you get 18-foot skiffs out there and all sorts of crazy multi-hulls and monohulls. Like, how does the speed compare? Because you guys well and truly the fastest out there. Does anything else really impress you with its pace to keep up with you guys?
Yeah,
Like a
I love
moth or
doing
anything
that
like
event. I love doing that event. It's so fun because yeah, we get to race all these other boats that come out. I think it's really cool. But yeah, I don't think anything has really kept up. I think there was a trimaran that was like relatively close a couple years ago, and I don't remember if anyone's done it on a moth. It would be pretty hectic to do it on a moth, but
that? It's pretty wavy out there, isn't
someone
it?
out there. I'm throwing the challenge out. I'll line up with you.
Because what I think the record's like
But
13 minutes from Golden Gate to the Bay Bridge.
yeah, I think it's even less than that now. I want to say like 8 or 9 minutes now.
And it's a
Because
fair
it
way.
also yeah, it is. I think I want to say like 7 miles or so. Don't quote me on that. I could be off, but I want to say like 7 or 8 miles. And also it depends on the year and if they do it on a flood or an ebb, because I remember like Johnny Heineken was trying to beat the record for like several years and it was always on an ebb. But if you do it on a flood, oh my God, like everyone just rips downwind and it's so much fun.
Is it a one shot go, or do you actually have to drive downwind to get there?
It depends on the year. So sometimes, like I think I've done it where I was able to do it in one shot, but there are some years where it gets like really light by the city front, like by the ferry building. So you do like end up going a little bit too far north, basically, and you have to drive back. But it's definitely been done in just like no transitions, which is totally ridiculous when you think about it.
It's one of the cooler races. You get the great footage sent over around the world, and yeah, you definitely see some cool pictures. So that probably leads me into my next question: is do you use a GPS and to help you train? And is it a good training aid if you do use it?
I personally sometimes use a GPS. I think that up until now, I've basically, like I mentioned earlier, I've really been focusing on feel and just like lining up with other riders. And I think that now I'm kind of at the point where a GPS would really start to help me. And I think it can be really helpful just to collect that data and see what's working, see what's not, things like that. But most riders do kite with a GPS, and I think that in a lot of our open events, we're allowed to race with GPSs on, but at world championships and title events that we're not allowed to.
And have you had a faster speed? Like, do you know how fast you've actually been on the kiteboard?
Yeah, I think my fastest speed as of like, I don't know, I want to say a year and a half ago or so was, I want to say like 38 miles per hour downwind. So maybe like 35 knots or so. But I'm pretty sure I've gone faster than that in the past year.
Very good. Now, again, you're answering my questions before I even get to ask you the question. So, outside of kiting, and water sports, what else do you do? You said tennis and you said swimming before.
Yeah, I love swimming. Swimming was my first love. I did year-round swimming with a club team just in my hometown at my high school for like 6 years, I want to say 6 or 7 years. So that was like my priority for middle school and high school. And then once I started traveling more and more for kiting, I kind of like stopped competing in swimming, but I still like when I'm at university, I get in the pool pretty much every day, and I just love being in the water. I'm an Aquarius, so I'm such a water baby. But yeah, and then yeah, I did a lot of tennis when I was little. But other than that, now I've been doing a lot of biking recently. And I've totally in love with road biking right now. I just got a bike like a month ago. And it's been super fun. And yeah, a lot of just gym stuff and injury prevention, things like that. When I was at university, I was getting like, I want to say I was swimming every day, and then I would do one gym session every like 2 days. So every other day I would do a gym session. And yeah, I think it's just, I love also like hiking because I was going to university in Hawaii. So I was just like going on hikes all the time with my friends. And I think any way that you can just like get outside and move around is just awesome.
Oh, I wish I was young again. I used to be fit.
It's a constant battle.
I suck these days. I'm going to give you a bit of self-promotion here because I've seen your videos on YouTube. You have your YouTube channel, and you've done a how to tack, how to jibe, and they're so good. They're so helpful to anyone who's getting into the sport. So, yeah, speak a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, thanks so much for saying that. I love hearing that. I was kind of sitting in quarantine a couple months ago, and I was like, you know what? There aren't like any like really good videos about how to tack and just these like basic foiling things. And I've done so many lessons for that, and people are constantly asking that. And I was like, you know what? Like somebody just needs to do this, and I think I could be good at it. So yeah, I just started kind of doing these because I had spare time in quarantine, and they've been really fun for me. And I think I haven't uploaded a video in a while just because I was actually taking summer classes for school just to kind of get ahead on credits. So I basically just got a little bit busy, but there's more videos coming, so definitely subscribe.
Well, that's exactly right. So when you're subscribing to Daniela's channel, subscribe to the Ronstan channel so you can see the Daniela interview with myself, but also hit her up on Instagram. She has a wicked Instagram account. She goes everywhere, does all the cool activities. And if you want to live your life vicariously through Daniela, that's a good account to get on. Because it now leads me to my next question. You go to university in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
That is cool. I want to go to university in Hawaii. That'd be the best.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so much fun. I wanted to go to university somewhere that I could still train and I could kite. And so that was like a big priority for me. And I kind of figured like I had talked to a few different like sailing coaches, most of them in California, but I really liked the like athletics program that Hawaii offered. So and when I talked to the coach of course is like a kiter also, and he was just really supportive of my kiting, and he was really willing to work with me on my schedule because I knew I would be traveling a lot. So it was just kind of the perfect fit, and yeah, it's so much fun. I love that. I love the lifestyle, and I love how everyone's really like environmentally friendly, and they love being outside. And my roommate and I are like ridiculously similar, and we both love the same things. And we were always like going on hikes, like I said earlier, and like checking out all the swimming spots. And yeah, it's so much fun over there. And I'm sad I can't really go back this fall because everything's been kind of moved online since the situation in the US is pretty bad. But yeah, I definitely miss it, but hopefully I'll be back soon.
So what are you studying over there in Hawaii?
I'm double majoring in international business and marketing.
Well, you might have a job in Ronstan pretty soon.
Maybe we'll see.
I'll have to put in a good word with Alan Prusher and Scott West. I'll let them know that you're an up and comer.
Sounds good.
So when you've been in Hawaii, have you been up and seen the big wave surfing up at Waimea and Sunset and all that sort of stuff?
I didn't see any of the big wave events because I think I was gone when all the like big contests were happening, but I did go to see Pipe Masters and the Vans Triple Crown, so those were really cool. And yeah, it was just like it's just so fun over there, and the weather is nice, and there's just so much to do, so you're never bored. There's always so much to do.
And kiting wise, you're kiting over on the windward side, is it Kapalua?
Yeah, Kailua Beach is the main kite spot. And I actually, when I got back to school in the fall, I was like pretty burnt out of kiting, and I really needed just to take a break. So I didn't even bring my kiting gear over in the fall. And it was honestly really nice because I could just focus on like living the normal like college student life, which was really nice. And then I was planning to bring my stuff back in the spring, but then I was only there for so long that it really wasn't that worth it. But I did get to kite Kailua a couple times and the Kaneohe Bay sandbar. And that's another spot on that windward side. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. The water's like bright blue. It's not too windy. It's super smooth. And yeah, it's an awesome spot. And hopefully I'll be able to actually train there a little bit more in the future.
Here's a fun fact about your local town and your new hometown. I bought my first kite gear from San Mateo down in San Francisco. There's a kite shop there.
No way.
Bought my gear there and did my first lessons at Kailua Beach in Hawaii. That's the first place I actually kited ever. Yeah, it was and then came back 2 years later.
It's a great spot.
Yeah, awesome spot. I drank a lot of salt water. A lot of salt.
Everyone does their first go.
Yeah. So Paris 2024. Gold is obviously the goal. What's the plan between now and then? Because there's a little bit of time. There's 4 years, and it's going to get pretty intense. With obviously there's going to be a lot more regattas and a lot more travel. How's it all going to work?
I'm still figuring that out. So I'm basically for now, I've been just kind of setting up stuff on my end. Like I've been organizing like a budget and like making kind of a business plan for myself. And then once originally I was planning to do like a campaign launch or go live or whatever you want to call it at the end of this year. But since the Olympics are postponed, it really doesn't make all that much sense to do that now. So now I'm thinking probably start getting stuff together at the beginning of next year or maybe even mid next year, just kind of depending on the situation and what's happening. And then, I'm definitely probably going to go full time like mid next year, probably after I finish my spring semester of school. And then I'll take some time off from school and really like train full time. And I'm really excited for that because I've actually never like trained full time. Like that just hasn't really been an option for me because I was still like in high school over the past few years. So yeah, I'm really excited about that and just to like see what I can do if I actually do train full time. Because it's just like a completely different game. And I think it makes such a big difference if you really like commit all of your time to kiting. But at the same time, what I've learned is that you really like, it's really important to take breaks. And even like right now, I'm taking some time off from kiting because kind of still at the end of last year, I was feeling really burnt out. And I never really took a break after our first event this year. And so I just still kind of kept kiting, and I was just at the point where I was like, okay, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Something has to change. So I'm kind of taking a break now, and which has been really nice because I've been doing other stuff and like winging things like that. And I'm still getting out on the water, but I'm just not like fully like in kiting mode all the time, it's such a big relief, honestly. I think everyone has to take breaks, and I had never taken a proper break over the past like 5 years almost. So yeah, it's really nice now, but I'm starting to feel the bug to like get back into it, and I'm really excited for the next 4 years and what's going to happen.
Now, make your comeback for the Ronstan Bridge to Bridge this year whenever it's going to be on.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope it happens. It's so fun.
But look, that break will do you the wonders. You'll come back better. Trust me. Refreshing and resetting of the brain. You'll come back and you'll see things that you didn't see before, and you'll just be so much better for it. So, the one thing I do love about kiting is the brands get right behind their top athletes. So, I mean, you're associated with obviously Robline for your kite lines and stuff. Are you still with Mike Slab for foils, or because they're not going to have a foil for the Olympics, you've had to part ways there?
Well, I'm pretty lucky because I'm so close with Mike, and I mean, he lives like 20 minutes from my house, and I've been really involved in his like testing process and like all the creations of his foil. So yeah, it's a bummer that his foil isn't available to use in the Olympics, but I mean, we'll still be able to use it for the open events and I think that like now he's making winging foils, so I've been like helping him test those and writing those, which has been really fun. But I think I'm gonna have to find a new foil to ride, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. But I'm not really worrying about it yet, just because I still have time, and I mean, who knows what will happen in the next year even. So it's just something I'll have to do, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think it'll be really cool to try new foils. And now I feel like I've learned so much just using Mike's foils and testing so many of his, that I really know what I like in a foil, and I know kind of what works best for me. So I think just figuring that out is going to be really fun.
And there's a lot of other foils out there that have taken a leaf out of Mike's book, so there'll be ones pretty similar.
Definitely.
So and then the kite brand you're associated with at the moment.
Yeah, I'm writing for Fly Surfer right now.
Okay, yeah, so they're right up there. They're pushing with Ozone as the two probably leaders in the kite foil game.
Yeah, it's Fly Surfer, Ozone, and F1 is the third one. They're the biggest players, basically.
Oh, very good. So I'm going to lead into my last question. What would you now, as still a very young Daniela Moroz, be telling even younger Daniela Moroz, or even girls out there, about how to get into kiting or sailing and, become what you've become now?
Oh, it's tough. It's not an easy sport, I'll tell you that. But I think that as long as you're enjoying it, and as long as you're just having fun on the water, and you're surrounded by the right people that are willing to help you and kind of be patient with you, then you're in like the best situation you can be in. And it's definitely, like I said, it's not easy, but I think like I don't regret any of it, and I would do it all over again if I could, because like all the things I've gotten to do and all the places I've been and the people I've met and the friends I've made, like it all totally makes it worth it. So if you're trying to get into kiting, I would say definitely just give it a go and just see if you like it. If you like it, just keep pursuing it and keep pushing it. But if not, like no big deal. Find something else that you enjoy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, look, girls and guys, I mean, kiting is an awesome sport. It is so much fun. And even if you're a sailor, like there's a lot of days, and this is the reason I got into kiting, there's a lot of days that are over 20, 25 knots that you're not going sailing that day. Instead of sitting there at the yacht club going, oh, I wish I could be going out, roll out the kite, throw out the board, and off you go. And it is so much fun. It's not that great in the life.
Yeah, I've noticed so many sailors are getting into kiting more and more, and I think that's awesome. So if you guys need any tips, let me know.
That's it. Oh, there you go. Just message Daniela on Instagram and go, hey, I'm Joe Blow from here. I need to know how to foil tack, and she'll send you the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniela, for joining us. I really appreciate it, and being one of the Ronstan ambassadors, and you've been with us for a long time now. So it's even though I appreciate you coming on board.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I had fun.